The knife and the gun are two weapons that many people are most afraid to be attacked with. Yet, which one of them is truly more dangerous? For me, the search for this answer began during a conversation. As a former Aikido instructor disillusioned by my practice, in search of what is true and false in martial arts, I first bumped into this question while speaking to Paul Sharp, a self-defense expert, former police officer, and SWAT team member. During the conversation, Paul told me that if he were to choose whether he would be attacked by someone who had a knife or a gun 6 feet in front of him, he would choose a gun. The answer shocked me. As a guy living in a country where guns barely exist, I always thought that a firearm is the ultimate weapon, the one I would never want to face if I were to be attacked. Yet hearing a self-defense expert tell me that he considers a gun to be more dangerous than a knife in close proximity, I did not see this coming. Paul then continued to explain.
With the gun, once you have the muzzle off of you and the barrel's no longer pointed at you, you're safe. Knife is worse because with a knife they can twist their hand and still cut you. People think they're just going to take a knife away from somebody. No, that's not going to happen. It's going to be nasty. You're going to get hurt, and it's going to be the fight of your life.
Yet this was not the end of my journey in finding out whether a knife or a firearm is more dangerous. In order to really hone in on the answer, I decided to ask the same question to 3 more world-renowned self-defense experts. And while 2 of them essentially agreed with Paul Sharp and had very valuable observations to add, one of the experts had something very different to say. First off, I reached out to Itay Gil, a famous Krav Maga expert and Israeli Special Forces commander, who also used to be an operative member in the famous Yamam counter-terrorist unit, which he is now an instructor to himself. Regarding the knife, this is what Itay had to say.
The stab, we believe he stabs one, but it's not true. It comes multiple directions. And the other thing is, the gun may have a malfunction. The blade will never jam. So if you ask me, what would I fear most? Me, as a major in the military, I would definitely say that the knife is more scary because it's sneaky, it's small, you won't see it. If the gun is in nearby you, static, and you want to do a technique, if the gun is close range where you can reach the hand or the gun to control the weapon, the chances are more realistic than a knife.
But then Itay had something else to add about the firearm, which showed me that everything is not as simple as I hoped for at first.
If a person knows how to use a gun and he has intentions to kill someone, you will be just a few meters away from me. The liberty to do any self-defense, we drop to 0.
By the way, the noise that you're hearing in the background are gunshots, which you hear because I called Itay during his regular instructing at the military base. Sorry about that. Then Itay continued to explain the difference between the gun and the knife, which made me further realize just how much more complicated this question is.
He's pointing at me, and Alex is static. I can reach out. But the problem is, you touch the gun and he pulls back, you lose. So there gotta be conditions of when. If the gun is in his hip and his hand is here, you will never be able to hit that gun, even if you move the hand and try. So if someone is far away from me, the chances of survival, if someone wants to come and shoot, would be extremely limited. They both have their edges and angles. The gun is deadly from a distance, close range. If the guy doesn't know what he's actually doing, he just wants to rob you, you may have a chance of overpowering him. So the limitation is not the gun, but it's how good is the person using the gun.
I then called up the second self-defense expert.
Rokas! Hey Nick, good to see you.
It was Nick Drossos, a world-famous self-defense expert whose self-defense videos have been seen by millions of people. Nick also has a whole in-depth instructional on knife defense that he meticulously developed over many years. So I knew that Nick would definitely deepen the complexity of my understanding even more of the pros and cons of being attacked against a knife versus a gun.
How many feet are we talking precisely, and what's my environment?
Make it simple. Arm's length.
Let's take the environment. I'm in an elevator. I'll take the gun. I won't take the knife. I'd rather defend against a gun because I know that the max he's going to get is 6 shots or whatever it is. I know once I'm out of the line of fire, I'm more safe. That I know that when I trap that gun and I have a control of it, there's less maneuverability for him to do the damage. And I also know there's only so many ways he's going to use a gun versus the knife. Whereas a knife, there's so many ways he's going to be able to strike, so many ways he can grip it, hold it. It's not going to reload. I'm not going to hear the stabs like I'm going to hear the shots. People people psychologically are more scared of the gun. There's this idea, if you get shot, you're gonna die. No, I know a bouncer guy fucking got shot. They chased him, he hid, he drove himself to the hospital. Doesn't mean you're gonna die. Now, you're telling me 15 feet in space, I'll take the knife because I know I could run.
After speaking to both Itay and Nick, I was about to settle on an opinion myself. Yet the final call I made changed everything. For my last call, I connected up with Icy Mike, a former police officer, now a self-defense and combat sports expert. I was expecting Mike to give me a similar answer to the previous ones, yet what he told me, I did not see coming.
I would fight a dude with a knife before I'd fight a dude with a gun. People that probably haven't seen it up close and personal, I fought 4.5 dudes who were armed. All 4 of them never drew the weapon. They tried to draw the weapon and I stopped them from doing it. 2 of them were with guns, 1 of them with a screwdriver, 1 of them with a box cutter. The screwdriver and the box cutter guy, I knew the box cutter guy had a weapon. I was told by the person who called us that he had a box cutter in his pants. And when I grabbed him, he tried to reach in his pants to get it. I didn't sweat it at all. Like, it didn't change what I was doing. I was thinking rationally. I was thinking clearly. I wasn't worried about this dude at all. Now, also, I'm carrying a gun and a taser and pepper spray and I'm wearing a vest and it's daytime and I wasn't ambushed, I ambushed him. That changes things. But the 2 times where it was a guy trying to draw a gun and I was trying to stop him, my heart was like pounding. I could hear the blood in my ears. It was terrifying. I can tell you which one I'd rather, because I've faced them both. If you pulled out a knife, I had to get past you to get out the door. I feel decent about my chances. If you pulled out a gun, I guess you're talking about a distance where I could potentially get my hands on you, disarm the gun, stop you from using it. The same distance that a knife would be a threat at, I would probably curl up in a ball and beg you not to kill me if you pointed a gun at me. I would love to tell you, well, I've trained. Dude, I've had so much training. I've had training, dude. You can watch video of me in training. And I've taken guns out of people's hands. And I fought 2 dudes who were armed trying to pull a gun on me. For real. Like, not a training, like a real gun. They were really trying to pull it out and I was really fighting them. That really happened. I have plenty of experience. I know tons of techniques and I'm telling you right the fuck now, I would probably just piss my pants. I'm sure there's a lot of tough guys on the internet confident they wouldn't. Real tough guy I know would tell you. I know Navy SEALs that have seen combat that would tell you that if someone's pointing a gun at them, that they're not entirely sure how they would react. Now that they're home. The idea that a knife is more deadly, and even if it was, I'm telling you this too, Rokas, even if you proved objectively that the knife was more deadly than the gun, I'd still choose a knife. Much like you can tell me that driving a car is more dangerous than flying. Right. But I'm more scared to fly. Like, I know objectively I'm more likely to die in a car wreck than a plane crash. I don't care. I still feel better while driving than I do while flying.
Mike then also added something else that made me think.
There's people that say that a knife is actually more deadly and more dangerous. You need to ask them where they got that information, what makes them believe that. There's like statistics, but they're taken from people that come into a trauma center and whether or not they die. If that's the source of their numbers. Everybody that gets shot goes to the hospital pretty much. There's exceptions. If you get shot and you go to the hospital, they know it's a gunshot wound and it gets reported. And everyone that gets shot goes to the hospital. So all of them get reported. So since they're all getting reported, that's where you get your number of how many people died from it and how many people didn't die. Not everybody that gets cut goes to the hospital. And if they're only cut in a minor way, they don't go to the hospital. And not every cut or stab gets reported as such because they can just lie. So the data is skewed. 10 guys went to the hospital last month for stab wounds and 8 of them died. 20 guys went to the hospital with gunshot wounds, 4 of them died. But 50 guys got cut and didn't go to the hospital. If that's where they're getting their idea of that from, if it's from those numbers. It's hard to know that in training. I think some of the places that people get their ideas from is a little skewed. I have the benefit of having both experiences. I get where people get these ideas, but I don't care. I don't believe it.
All 4 experts shared a piece and an angle of truth. Yet talking with them, I was reminded that there are no simple answers in self-defense, and that in order to find out the truth, we should never be satisfied just with one. If you'd like to see Icy Mike and me rank various martial arts for self-defense, click on this video right here. If you'd like to check Nick Drossos' Knife Defense Instructional, click on the link at the top of the comments or in the description. Thank you for watching, and as always, I wish you to own your journey.